Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, Sowore and Atiku's push for Nnamdi Kanu's freedom. In the course of the program, we'll take your questions, but first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have joining me via Zoom, the master himself, Babajide Kolade Titoju. Good to see you, PQ.
Yeah, good to see you, Ibrahim. Good to do this again with you. And I say a big thank you to our viewers for their support through the.
Yeah. Now, looking at former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has joined human rights activist and former presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore in calling on the federal government to immediately release detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, that's IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. How do you see this high-stakes push for Kanu's release?
I I think that it is important for the matter not to be politicized. I have always pushed for an amicable negotiated settlement of this matter because I've seen it done in other lands. I've referred to um, the violence going on in South Africa, the black on black violence, and how um, they found a way to solve that problem. Buthelezi and ANC supporters on the opposite side, they were slaughtering one another. But in the end, a political solution was found, which also led to some level of power sharing. I have used that example in the past. I noticed at some point that Kanu was looking sober, and in open court with journalists present, he promised to solve the problem of insecurity in the southeast if he was released. We saw somebody who spoke like a born again Nnamdi Kanu. I think that was sometime last year. But his continued detention got him worked up, and we also saw him in court flaring up and even demanding that the judge handling his matter at the time, Justice Murtala Yako, should recuse herself from the case. As far as Kanu was concerned, he had lost complete confidence in the judge. Now, efforts had been made in the past. Kanu was prevailed upon to cancel the sit at home that IPOP is group instituted in the first instance. Eze Chukwemekari, Senator Inaya Baribe, and the late Ifeanyi Yumba went to see him in his detention facility within the DSS headquarters and extracted that commitment from him. In the past, sit at home was an every Monday thing, but IPOB then said, okay, this thing will no longer be an every Monday thing. It should be only when Kanu is brought to court. But you and I know that despite IPOB's decree, despite Kanu signing by himself that there should be no sit at home anywhere in the southeast, sit at home is still happening. Some people believed to be cultists and other routine criminals have hijacked the struggle, and it is now almost like a free for all. You never can tell who is directly in charge, who is killing people now. Everyone is seen as an unknown gunman and all that. So remember, IPOB allowed elections to take place in Anambra State about 4 years ago because some leaders from the southeast appealed to them to allow election to take place. I am also aware that the late Bazulike Amechi, First Republic Minister of Aviation, pleaded with the late President Muhammadu Buhari to release Kanu to him. He assured that he would get Kanu to behave himself and abide by whatever conditions placed in his path. But all of these efforts have not yielded any dividends so far. And my feeling for those who are saying this matter is political, I don't know how they can actually explain, because Nigerians say a lot of things without thinking it through. The matter, Kanu does not represent a political party, for example. He does not show loyalty to any political party. It does not show affiliation to any political party. That you can say, okay, they are keeping him there because of his political beliefs. So let's even banish the thought that this matter is political. I think that this matter largely has to do with security, if not completely security matter. The question is, if Kanu is released, will he abide by conditions that they are going to give him? Because I do not see any government that finds itself in this kind of situation simply releasing Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally. I do not think any government will do that. So for him to regain his freedom, I believe that some conversations have to happen, and I still believe that it is possible to have him released so that dialogue can take place. As things stand now, Sowore's desire to march on the streets, march all the way to Aso Rock to try and get the government to release Nnamdi Kanu is gaining some momentum. I can see Atiku Abubakar, who has described Nnamdi Kanu's detention as a stain on our belief in the rule of law, and he also called it an abuse of power. Falana says it's purely political. If government can negotiate with bandits and terrorists, why not resolve the Kanu conundrum? This is the way he's thinking. Well, even the matter of negotiating with bandits is not a political thing. It's also is security. So this one, I believe this one is security. It has nothing to do with politics, but I do not oppose those who want Nnamdi Kanu free, because on this program, I had said repeatedly, even on Journalist Hangout, I said repeatedly that, in my view, there's a need to find a solution to this matter. Not at this point oppose anyone who says that the matter should be resolved amicably, that a political solution should be found. So I will not oppose that. Senator Inaya Baribe says he's fully on board with Sowore on this matter, And he also revealed that the South-South caucus in the Senate and the House of Reps have met with the Attorney General of the Federation, the National Security Advisor, but up to now, no results, no breakthrough has come.
That's right.
Sowore said Alex Oti and Governor Alex Oti and Soludo did not pick his calls while Obi was out of the country. Well, what I know is that Governor Alex Oti has demanded or has pleaded in the past that Nnamdi Kanu be released. Soludo has also said that the past. So neither of these two governors that Sowore mentioned are against Nnamdi Kanu's release. But as I've always said, you can't release such a person without some preconditions. Government will want those conditions to be met before it will be released, and I'm sure that those conditions will be put before his lawyers. I'm aware that Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer also pleaded with the AGF to consider an out-of-court settlement of this matter. But again, no progress has been made on that. And Nnamdi Kanu, out of frustration, abused the the prosecution, the lawyer, the federal government's lawyer, Awumolo, called him all kinds of names and all that. I believe that was due to frustration because he obviously wanted an out-of-court settlement, and it seemed like the prosecution was not looking in that direction at all. So this is where we are. But I also have to make the point that it is not everyone that wants Nnamdi Kanu freed at this time. Joe Bokwe, former spokesperson for the APC in Lagos State, accused Nnamdi Kanu of shedding the blood of Southeasterners for 10 good years. As far as he's concerned, Kanu turned the Southeast to a killing field, a place of anything goes. So he then told Sowore to stay away from the Southeast, that the matter was bigger than Sowore could imagine. So Joe Bokwe said, idiots and vagabonds ruined the land of the rising sun. We went to bed and children led by the empty head dragged Igbo nation into a terrible mess. I'm a victim. Go to Nnewi and see my house. Go and do due diligence in the Southeast before you put your mouth in this matter. This Aluta continual adventure is no longer relevant. It is a no-brainer. Childish, senseless. This was Joe Bokwe's response to Sowore's desire to hold a rally, hold a march, asking for Nnamdi Kanu's release. But Sowore has gone ahead to say, oh, this protest to Aso Rock will hold on the 20th of September. And more groups are backing him. Peter Obi says it doesn't make sense to continue to detain Nnamdi Kanu. As far as he and others are concerned, Nnamdi Kanu stood for equity and justice. His methods may not be really good, but they are insisting that he stood for justice and equity. Now, Sowore is calling on Southeast leaders to come out of the woodworks and back him by rallying with him on that day, that's September 20th, 2025. Will they listen to him? Obviously, many of them will not want to listen to him because they will not want to risk the anger of the government of the day. A lot of them are close to the government of the day, so they will not want to do anything that endangers their relationship. So this is where we are on Nnamdi Kanu's matter. Let's not forget about how Nnamdi Kanu was brought into our country. He was brought into our country in a manner antithetical with international law. Before you can bring in a fugitive like him, there has to be an extradition trial. No such thing happened. He was brought into Nigeria in a Gestapo fashion. And when they went to court, federal authorities lost that case because the way he was rendered, the way he was brought into the country was against international law. So they lost that case, but they continue to hold on to him. And interestingly, Kanu does not want to remain in the EFCC custody. He has demanded that he should be sent to Kuje prison in Abuja.
But, DSS custody.
Yes, but he's still being kept in the DSS custody. And he's also trying to get the courts to release him for medical checkup. Right now, the NMA, Nigerian Medical Association, is yet to come up with a definitive answer on that. Will the NMA, which is the umbrella body for medical doctors, will it give a judgment suggesting that Kanu was too weak to stand trial so that it can be allowed to go and have Medicare? No one knows what the report of the NMA will look like, but the court actually ordered the NMA to assess him and report back to it. So this is where we are in this matter.
Let me take some comments. Aisha Bello says, Atiku and Sowore are finally saying what most leaders are too scared to admit. Justice delayed is justice denied. You can't preach unity while keeping a man in custody without closure. Miriam Danladi says, this is not about tribe, it's about conscience. Atiku is showing political maturity and Sowore, as usual, is fearless. Dialogue heals faster than detention. Free Nnamdi Kanu now. Hashtag free Nnamdi Kanu now. Kabir Salami, Atiku's move is politically strategic, appealing to the Southeast ahead of 2027, but politically smart doesn't mean morally wrong. Sometimes interest and justice align. Timia Lupu says, I'm torn. Kanu's rhetoric caused real tension, but his prolonged detention fuels resentment too. Maybe it's time for a South African style truth and reconciliation approach. Kingsley Ekanem says, it is interesting. When Kanu was first arrested, politicians were silent. Now that elections are near, everyone is suddenly a human rights crusader. Hashtag timing matters. Now, Abdullahi Musa, I guess, is kind of critical about this move, saying that Kanu led a movement that made ordinary people afraid to go to work in their own towns. Before shouting, hashtag free Nnamdi Kanu, ask what happens to victims of that chaos. Justice must balance both sides. Esther Obaje says, Atiku is playing politics, period. Where was this energy when he was in power? If he truly believes in reform, let's hear his blueprints, not just sympathy tweets. um, just as I've read, critics say prolonged detention without finality corrodes public trust in institutions. So if free Kanu were tied to a negotiated political solution, could that advance national reconciliation in the Southeast, or would it deepen polarization? I mean, what should responsible leaders be thinking about here?
I think first and foremost, the concerns of the Southeast must be addressed. May not be addressed immediately, but ultimately we have to address that concern. The people of the Southeast, since 1999, they've neither produced the president nor vice president of this country. This is the truth. There are some misguided Southeasterners on social media who accuse me of being a tribalist and all that. I wonder how they think. If I was a tribalist, I won't consistently ask for an amicable resolution of this kind of matter. I've been doing that since 2021. But they call me um, a tribalist and all kinds of things. I mean, but my feeling is that if the Southeast says it is marginalized, I think that is an issue that we have to address because there is genuine concern. There's genuine reason to believe that the people have not been properly reconciled with the Nigerian state after the Civil War. The Southeast is the only geopolitical zone with 5 states. That should have been balanced. That should have been 6 states across board. The Northwest has 7 states. The Southeast has 5. So for me, I think there are some actions that need to be taken that will make the people of the Southeast feel wanted, feel that they have an equal stake within the Nigerian Federation. That must be done on a broader scale. I don't think simply treating Nnamdi Kanu's matter in isolation is the solution to the problem that we face at this time. Many Southeasterners believe that they are being marginalized. They point at the number of ministers in the Southeast, which is not proportional to what we have from other geopolitical zones. So these concerns need to be addressed going forward. I believe that if it's addressed, then we'll be on the right path to achieving national cohesion, achieving national unity. Anything short of that will make people of the Southeast believe that they are not wanted and that their preeminence within the Nigerian Federation is what many people want to see. They'll have the feeling that some people do not want them to make progress in the Nigerian nation, especially political progress. So I don't think we should treat the matter in isolation. We should look at it on a broader scale and address those concerns.
Yeah. Right. Chika Okafo says the diaspora is watching closely. If Nigeria mishandles this again, it's only deepen international perception that we trample due process whenever it's politically convenient. Hamza Lawal says the same Sowore calling for Kanu's release would cry dictatorship if the man comes out and resumes hate broadcasting. Nigeria's unity isn't a joke. Let's tread carefully. Ifeoma Adibe says you don't heal a wound by removing the bandage too soon. Until Kanu publicly denounces violence and apologizes to those hurt by IPOB excesses, release will mean nothing. Kingsley Ekanem says it's interesting. When Kanu was first arrested, okay, I think I've read this. Rukayat Olayemi says, I don't support separatism, but selective justice is dangerous. The same system pardons political thieves, yet detains agitators indefinitely. Hypocrisy is the real threat to national unity. Amina Yusuf says, freedom of speech shouldn't be freedom from consequences, but consequences must follow lawful process, not jungle justice. Esther Obaje, okay, I've taken Esther's comments. I think she's just reposting her comments. Blessing Okwara says, if this is about enforcing the law, then let's see the full trial and judgments. If it's about peace, then government should be open about the terms. Nigerians deserve clarity, not confusion. John Adepoju says, imagine detaining someone for years without resolving the case, then expecting the same region to trust the system. Release Kanu, then let the law take its natural course. All right, very well. My very last question to you, BKO. There is a practical concern about precedent, things that have happened before. If political pressure leads to release, will that weaken justice independence in future terrorism cases? And how should courts insulate themselves from political wins while remaining accountable?
Well, if the courts can't be blamed, the courts usually even encourage the parties in a matter to seek an amicable settlement. So this one has nothing to do with the courts. If the parties to the matter, that's the federal government and Kanu's lawyers, come together and conclude in their hearts that this matter should be settled out of court, the court will be happy and the court will throw out the matter as they always do, which is routine. So that is not exercise. It's not related to a lack of judicial independence. People are free to settle a matter out of court. That parties to a matter come together and say, look, let's leave this matter. Let's agree to come together and solve this problem amicably, resolve this matter amicably. That is not a threat to judicial independence. No. The courts are congested. So many cases in the court. So if one case is resolved out of court, the judiciary will be happy because you have saved the time of the court. That's what it means. So I don't think there's anything wrong about that. That move had been made in the past, but we didn't see any progress. So, and it's still possible to resolve that matter out of court. What a lot of people are bothered about is if it's released today, what will happen? Will he continue his armed struggle against the Nigerian state? Will he continue to push for the independence of Biafra? These are motivations, not impossible, because the president promised during his campaigns in the southeast that he will solve some of he will solve, he will address the lingering, he will address the president promised that he will address the issues some people try to get involved in what we are doing, get involved with what we are doing. The president promised to address the outstanding issues like even this agitation, separatist agitation. He promised on the soapbox that he will address the matter. So it's not impossible for him to say, okay, we've been having a series of meetings. We've decided to discontinue this matter. But as I've always said, it will only happen if Nnamdi Kanu agrees to some conditions. And one of those conditions will be that henceforth he will cease to agitate for the balkanization of the Nigerian state. He will renounce all forms of armed struggle and mobilization of people for the actualization of Biafra. If he will agree to do this, I'm sure that the government may consider making a deal with him. But if anyone thinks that Sowore marching through the streets of Abuja, Atiku joining him or anybody joining him will simply lead to the instant release of Nnamdi Kanu without conditionalities, that person must be joking. There will be conditions. Certain conditions will be met, will have to be met before that freedom will take place. But I'm not opposed to a resolution of this matter. I'm not opposed to it at all. I've been consistent over this. The records are there on YouTube. My takes on this matter on the journalist hangout as well as on this program. So before people like Sowore began to agitate for his release, I had been pushing for his release. I had been pushing for a negotiated settlement of this matter. So, and I believe that both parties can come together and hammer out a deal.
That's right. Well, that's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Baba Jide Kolade Otutoju, for those insightful analyses, as always.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you, loyal viewers. We'll do this again next week. Wherever we find ourselves, we'll do this again next week.
Yeah. Thanks to our audience for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG. I'm also at Ibrahim_Shooter. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shooter. See you again next edition. Bye for now.